Hi, I'm Bob Vila, and I want to show you another great innovation in Craftsman hand tools. It's the Craftsman Quick Wrench, exclusively from Sears. The Quick Wrench is a combination wrench with a unique open-end design that makes it work like a ratchet.
During this edition of Storm Watch, we talk about some rains in the Midwest right now, but it looks like some better weather ahead there, and also a good chance at some more showers and storms in the southeast, with some very heavy rainfall likely throughout much of the southeastern states by later this afternoon. But first, we're going to take a look at our tropical update, see what's happening, and we're going to talk about, first of all, where there is some action, and that's going to be over the eastern Pacific Ocean. We're going to talk about Hurricane Georgette. Again, the advisory coming in at 2 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time had a position, the center of circulation, 23.2 degrees north, 123.6 degrees west, or about 865 miles to the west of Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, which is on the tip of the Baja Peninsula. Top sustained winds 100 miles per hour. We think at the present time, that was an estimate, we think that the winds are beginning to go down rather dramatically. It's moving northwesterly at 15 miles per hour into much cooler waters, which is going to mean the demise of Georgette almost entirely within the next 72-hour period. And again, the pressure stands at 974 millibars. We think that is on the rise as well as our hurricane continues to weaken. This is the latest. Watch all the convection again, the deep area of showers and thunderstorms. The brighter shades of orange and red back and through here basically are fizzling away, which means we do have a weakening hurricane at this point. Now, the big deal with Georgette during the next, let's say, day or two is going to be the generation of some big swells in the southern parts of California, some of the south-facing beaches of Southern California, Ventura, Los Angeles counties. You folks have to watch out for that. Could be looking at swells basically getting up to about 6 or 7 feet, and those will probably be dissipating almost entirely there as well by, let's say, Monday, and almost by Tuesday they will be gone. This is the latest shot again of Georgette, a close-up shot, and you can see at the present time just a little bit of convection around the center of circulation, but it's no ifs, ands, or buts. We do have a weakening hurricane as of this point, and this is expected to almost entirely dissipate within the next 72-hour period as it continues moving to the northwest, eventually west-northwest, into much cooler waters. Let's take a look at the Atlantic Basin right now. From the Gulf of Mexico into the Caribbean, all the way over to almost off the coast of Africa, we've got a large area of high pressure in the region right now, which means we do have some favorable winds aloft if anything is going to generate, but nothing is happening as of this point. Just a large area of high pressure, a lot of subsidence. If anything does try to fire up thunderstorm-wise, it just basically isn't happening. And once again, you can see we are looking at a couple of tropical waves. One is centered right now in Cuba. We'll talk about that one. And we've got a couple of other flare-ups right here, another one right here, but overall, no low-level circulation, and nothing is beginning to fire at this point, and nothing to worry about. So it looks like a great weekend if you're going to be outdoors and you're going to do some boating into the Gulf of Mexico, into the Caribbean. If you've got a cruise lined up within the next couple of days, no worries as of right now. Here's our tropical wave, a very weak one, beginning to pass across Cuba. That's enhancing some of those showers and storms, mainly during the afternoon and evening hours. We'll take a little bit farther around towards the east. The islands right in through here. Here's a weak wave. Again, a little bit of convection with that, a few thunderstorms with this wave. But again, nothing is organizing. And we do have, if there's any circulation at all, it is very broad and very, very weak. Let's take you off the coast of Africa. This is where we start looking this time of the year at some of those stronger waves that come off the coast and begin to move their way on westward. The Cape Verde Islands right in through here. We are definitely into the Cape Verde season, but overall it's been a very, very meager season so far. Good news again for the east coast of the United States and also the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing is organizing, but back here we do have a much stronger wave that looks like it will be re-emerging within the next 24 hours off the coast of Africa. Well, let's see what's going on with the current weather map right now back in the lower 48. We've got a trough in the southeastern part of the country that'll be kicking up some more numerous showers this afternoon, all the way from, let's say, Brownsville, Texas, perhaps, Houston, New Orleans, up towards Atlanta, and scattered about much of the state of Florida too. This front begins to clear Milwaukee and Chicago. It's doing so at the present time. It'll be a much better day coming up for Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Bismarck, and Green Bay, and also Schofield and central Wisconsin. And you can see as you take a look at the weather map, we've got those dissipating showers now, not nearly as bad as they were last night, those thunderstorms around Des Moines, Iowa, back towards Omaha and Council Bluffs. But look at all the moisture in the southeastern part of the country. It is loaded. We've got the mechanism to help do some lifting, and we'll be looking at some thunderstorms a little bit later.
Saturday morning to you, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Weather Channel as we check out Storm Watch. Now, throughout the course of the day, there will be a chance for some very powerful thunderstorms in some spots around the country, and we'll detail those areas most prone to see some pretty bad thunderstorms later. But first of all, let's check out the tropics. And this edition of the Tropical Update starts off by looking at Hurricane Georgette. Now, Georgette really has been the big story for the tropics the last couple of days or so, and it was yesterday that Georgette actually peaked out. At one point, it used to be a Category 3 hurricane with winds up to 115 miles an hour. Since then, though, it has weakened quite a bit. It continues to encounter some cooler and cooler sea surface temperatures, so it's losing its main energy source, and it continues to weaken. Here's the latest information that we have on Hurricane Georgette. It is still, though, packing winds close to 85 miles per hour, so down quite a bit from what it was yesterday. The latest coordinates have it roughly centered 745 miles southwest of San Diego, California, and it continues to lift its way towards the northwest. Now, we don't really anticipate any major change in direction, at least not for today, so more or less continuing on a northwesterly track. And at that rate, it will continue to work its way towards some cooler waters, and hence we do expect more and more weakening to be taking place as we go through today and tonight. Here's the latest satellite picture that we have of Hurricane Georgette. Not too terribly impressive looking. It has lost quite a bit of its deep convection, so not many shades of oranges and reds here. So it continues to weaken. Again, it's lifting off towards the northwest. Now, the good news with Georgette is that not only is it weakening, but it's also quite a ways away from any land areas, and it poses no direct threat whatsoever to the U.S. or to Mexico. It is indirectly, though, affecting our weather because what it's doing is that it's churning up the waters across the eastern Pacific, and that is causing some high seas and some high swells. And so you have to be mindful of that because if you're planning on heading to the beaches today in Southern California, you may encounter some very choppy conditions and rough seas. We're expecting waves to be building up to 7 and 8 feet high in some of the beaches in Southern California, especially around Huntington Beach, Redondo Beach, maybe around Newport Beach. You might see some big seas and big waves around that area, so be really careful if you're planning on doing some windsurfing or some parasailing later on today. Here's another satellite vantage point of Hurricane Georgette, again swirling and churning up the waters across the eastern Pacific. As we head out towards the Gulf, the Caribbean, and across the Atlantic Basin, though, boy, is it very, very quiet. And ironically, it's usually August that we start to see more and more activity taking place in the tropics, but that has simply not been the case for the Atlantic. It remains very quiet and very tranquil. On closer inspection, we do see what's happening across the Gulf of Mexico at this time. And throughout the eastern and the central Gulf, looks like a beautiful afternoon for some boating or fishing, but we have been seeing some big-time thunderstorms blowing up along the coastal waters of Texas and Louisiana, and those may persist for quite a while. Heading over towards the Caribbean, a little weak tropical wave gliding across Cuba at this time, causing a few clouds, but nothing to be too terribly concerned about. Nice conditions, too, heading over towards Haiti and Dominican Republic. Fairly quiet, too, for Puerto Rico, and beautiful weather across the Virgin Islands this morning. Very, very nice, lots of sunshine and some warm temperatures. So if you're planning a little getaway cruise or vacation across the Caribbean, looks very, very nice. You chose a great time to go this time of the year. A little bit farther towards the east, we have a couple more tropical waves drifting towards the west, but they're not showing any signs of organization. And just off the African coast, here's another tropical wave just exiting the shoreline. We have been seeing a little bit of a twisting motion with this tropical wave, so that may indicate some low-level circulation of some type, but not a whole lot of convection, not a whole lot of shower or thunderstorm activity, so not looking too terribly impressive at this time. Closer to home, though, again, showers and thunderstorms building off the coast of Texas and Louisiana. At the same time, too, we're watching a front easing its way across the nation's midsection, and that, too, will likely set off some big thunderstorms. We've had no reports of any severe weather as of yet, but come this afternoon, that could be a different story. These thunderstorms across the heartland have the capability of producing some large hail, some blinding torrential downpours, and perhaps some gusty winds too, so we'll have to watch out for that. From the Black Hills of South Dakota into Nebraska. And once again for the southeast, some hit and miss showers and thunderstorms, and these too could drop some locally heavy rains. So if you're heading out this afternoon, maybe going to the shopping malls or maybe attending a movie, definitely take your umbrella across the deep south. Stay tuned, we'll check out current weather from coast to coast and much more coming up on Weather Center. Unexpected weather can really mess up your day, and preparing people for it is our business. Business is good.
Come on, baby, let's see what you got. It's gonna be huge. This is gonna be huge.
It's the bargain.
It's 10 minutes till the top of the hour this Saturday evening. Thanks for tuning in here at the Weather Channel for Storm Watch. I'm Lisa Moser. We'll update you on some severe weather in this segment. We're looking at a flash flood warning in effect at this time for La Paz County, that is in the western central Arizona area. Also a flash flood warning in effect at this time for parts of Bedford County, that's in south central Pennsylvania. But we begin this segment by giving you the update on the tropical weather. Let's go to the Pacific first, where we continue to watch Hurricane Georgette. Hurricane Georgette has been weakening. You may recall yesterday around this time we were looking at a storm around 100-mile-per-hour sustained wind strength. Well, right now we are looking at Hurricane Georgette, and it is tracking still to the northwest into cooler conditions, a more stable atmosphere. The winds are down to 75 miles per hour, just a minimum Category 1 hurricane. You may recall several days ago it was a very strong hurricane, a Category 3. Well off the coastal shore from the Baja California, moving away, not a threat, but we are seeing some swells across the southern California area as high as 4 to 6 feet. And so surfers, that's probably pretty good news, but if you're doing some boating, do keep in mind that Georgette is still a powerful storm. It's a hurricane. We are looking at the visual satellite imagery, and you'll notice that several bands still well defined wrapping into the center. However, the eye not so well defined at this time. We can about estimate where the center is by looking at some of the colder cloud tops that's indicated on this enhanced infrared imagery. You'll notice some blue and a little orange and yellow, but that area of cold cloud tops reaching high into the atmosphere continues to shrink and is continuing to weaken, and that's one indication. Probably by tonight or tomorrow, as early as tomorrow, we could see this downgraded to a tropical storm, as it is on a path towards more stable conditions, less favorable for tropical storms to exist. I want to point out the hotbed area for the Pacific, right off the coastal areas of Central America, which is the origin area for Hurricane Georgette. We still see convection beginning to blow up here, and so we'll continue to watch this area. Meanwhile, in the Gulf and out towards the Atlantic, we're seeing a lot of subsidence. See all of this clear condition across the Gulf and across the Atlantic? Well, this is an area when we look at the air mass as a whole, we're seeing the wind flow pushing down towards the surface. That's called compression. And when we have an airflow that's pushing down towards the surface, well, it limits how much cloud cover can develop. More favorable movement would be for the airflow to be pushing towards the atmosphere away from the surface. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing subsidence, and that generally means clearer skies. Looking closely, we have had some afternoon thunderstorms to blow up across parts of Havana, Cuba, and all the way over to Puerto Rico. we continue to see a couple of areas of low circulation. We're losing our daylight hours, and so perhaps I shouldn't point this out, but right here, the Lesser Antilles Islands, we're seeing just to the north. We've been watching this for 3 or 4 days, and we haven't seen very much in the way of thunder showers or convection with it, but it continues to have a somewhat cyclonic flow in the low levels, and so we're seeing some circulation there that is something to watch. Certainly could develop if it were in more favorable conditions, but it's not at this time. And a little bit further back, we've been watching this area of low-level circulation here too, but here too, conditions have not proved it to be able to develop. Out towards the coastal areas of Africa, we've had one wave yesterday that pulled a little bit further into the intertropical convergence zone. It's lost some of its identity, but still a bit of a wave showing here. And also you'll notice some convection here. Looks like we're going to see yet another wave come off the coastal area. So we'll continue to watch circulation here too. Back home, things have certainly been some concern across parts of Nebraska. Yesterday we had a very large hail associated with some of the thunderstorms. Reports coming in 1 to 2 inches in diameter. And again, as we head into the evening hours, we'll be looking for the possibility of hail with some of the strong thunderstorms across parts of Nebraska and also South Dakota. We could see this occur here too. Down south, an area of low pressure, and the moisture is just training in. By training, we mean shower after shower coming in. And of course, when we start seeing training moisture like this, the possibility of flooding is certainly a concern this evening, especially in some of the poor drainage areas, the low-lying areas, in the eastern Carolinas, in the western Carolinas, eastern Tennessee. Out towards Jackson, Mississippi, we're looking at some problems right now. Also Tupelo, it's been very wet this afternoon.
Well, tonight we're still watching showers and thunderstorms across the southeast. Still continuing tonight, while a front coming through the Ohio Valley showing some signs of weakening. We'll take a look at that in a few minutes, but in this part of Storm Watch, we always start out with the tropical update when there's not much happening across the U.S. Tropics right now are quiet, though. You know, we do have Tropical Storm Georgette. We're going to talk about the Eastern Pacific, then we're going to head over to the Atlantic. But for right now, Tropical Storm Georgette, well, it is a tropical storm. For those of you who missed last hour or the hour before, it has been downgraded from a hurricane to a tropical storm. Winds are now at 50 miles per hour. It is moving west-northwest at 13 miles per hour. Pressure's up to about 1,000 millibars now. And again, it continues on that west-northwesterly track away from land. Now let's take a look at it on the infrared. And, well, you can really see why it's been downgraded. Convection almost totally gone from this, mainly just a swirl of low to mid clouds here, a few high clouds still left out there from the convection, but otherwise the eye is gone. It's moving over a lot cooler waters, so we could say goodbye probably to Tropical Storm Jet maybe in the next 24 to 36 hours. It really should be dissipating by that point. Now the problem with Tropical Storm Georgette, even though it is weakening here, all right, even though it's showing signs of weakening, it's still causing some problems along the Gulf Coast, not the Gulf Coast, the Southern California coast. Swells, or waves, are up to 5 to 7 feet. All right, surfers, you may be loving that, but if you're not experienced out there, don't be out there tempting fate. Rip currents could be pretty dangerous on the south-facing beaches. Okay, from Point Conception southward, we have to be careful here along the Southern California coast, as the winds from the hurricane at one point actually produced waves that eventually did get into Southern California. So that's it for looking at the Eastern Pacific. We're not really expecting I think there was one disturbance, maybe an area of a cluster of thunderstorms that I blew by. I apologize for that. That we might be interested in looking at here, but at this point it's down there off the western coast of Central America, so we don't expect anything to develop, at least in the next 24 hours with that. Now, let's talk about some climo right now. Hurricanes per 100 years. Well, the peak, it's not here yet. We've escaped so far into mid-August. You can see mid-August, about 20, okay, or so. But you get into September, then you really get up here, okay? So we're still about a month away from the peak of hurricane season, around September 15th. So don't let your guard down. Just because nothing is happening as of yet does not mean that will not change here in the next couple of weeks.
But I'll tell you what, the next day or two, nothing is going to happen out there. It's pretty quiet, so you can enjoy your vacation along the Gulf Coast, or if you're heading to the islands here, there might be a few isolated thunderstorms out there, but definitely no tropical development. Notice how quiet it is in the Caribbean, also in the Gulf of Mexico. The reason it's quiet in the Caribbean is mainly because of subsidence or sinking air, and you can see that very evident here on our water vapor loop, where you see the brighter colors, but you see here the darker shading right through here, and that's indicating sinking air. We're looking at moisture in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So it's pretty dry. So we're not going to get convection to develop here. Now, one feature you can see is this upper level low here. Actually, a tropical wave moving westward, interacting with it. We were able to fire up some thunderstorms, but with an upper level low, that is not conducive to tropical development. You want an upper level high or ridging aloft. And we're just not going to see that as this wave continues to move westward. It's going to get sheared. Now, thunderstorms coming off of Cuba, typical towards the evening, towards daytime. We'll have it across the island. Night rolls in. They come off into the ocean. But again, with all that sinking air out there, it's not favorable for anything to happen here in the Caribbean. So here's the one wave being influenced now by that upper level low. We have another one here coming across kind of the same way, and as it heads westward, it's probably going to encounter some shear too, so we're not too concerned with this wave either. Now, we do have one wave here that actually has a swirl to it, or has a low and even a mid-level circulation here, but notice there's no convection with it, just west of the Cape Verde Islands. There's no convection with it, but we will monitor it as it heads westward. That's it for the tropics. Now let's take a quick peek at what's happening around the U.S. More rain in the southeast, a front coming through the northeast. Really, nothing much happening with this front anymore. But still seeing the rain in the southeast. Severe thunderstorms coming through Phoenix tonight. Severe thunderstorm warning. It just expired from Maricopa County. Thunderstorms coming off the Mogollon Rim. That's what happens when you have upper level high about right here. And the flow around the high brings northeasterly winds at the mid and upper levels and pushes those thunderstorms off the mountains. As a matter of fact, let's take a closer look. You can see the thunderstorms moving through the city right now. We'll take a closer look at this coming up next in Weather Center. Stay with us.
We're tracking systems that could bring heavy rain, damaging wind, and possibly even hail to parts of the Midwest. More on potential storms next on Weather Center after your local forecast.
For dry, red eyes, Clear Eyes is awesome. Unlike the other leading eye drop, it removes redness and has an ingredient to moisturize. Wow. The difference is clear. Clear Eyes.
Mr. Sandman.